In other news, former LRA Commander Dominic Ongwen was this week handed over to the Uganda People's Defense Forces in Central African Republic. The handover paves way for his transfer to the International Criminal Court at The Hague for trial. Dominic Ongwen, considered by some to be a deputy to the Lord's Resistance Army LRA chief, Joseph Kony, was taken into U.S. custody last week after he reportedly surrendered. The Chief of Defense Forces, General Katumba Wamala, said Ongwen will be handed over to the ICC, and if the community of northern Uganda does not want him tried there, then they should appeal to the ICC.
So of course, he's entitled to a lawyer, he's entitled to all that, but that's a matter to be addressed. Yeah.
Then what about the religious leaders in this region have been asking the government to pardon this guy because all along the
now they can appeal to ICC because the matter was already with ICC.
Government was tasked to embrace the latest information technology around the globe to improve statistical data in the country. This emerged as the country hosted the African Symposium on Statistics under the theme Revolutionizing Census and Civil Registration and Vital Statistics Towards Africa Agenda 2063 at Speak Resort, Munyonyo. Stella Nabakoza reported.
Statisticians from the African continent have converged at Speak Resort Munyonyo to map out ways of improving and securing statistical data among African countries. They are concerned that most African countries have not embraced latest forms of technology to secure statistical data, banking on elementary methods, especially when it comes to civil registration of births, deaths, marriages and adoptions, which they say are outdated.
Were not being done at health center force. Since you became Prime Minister, with your guidance, we have gazetted health center force and births are being registered at health center force now.
Are underway by government to strengthen civil registration and national identification through legislation and infrastructure development.
The Constitution obliges the state to register every birth, death and marriage that occurs within the boundaries of Uganda, but little has been achieved as the exercise has not rolled out to all health facilities in the country. Government, however, says plans are underway to strengthen civil registration. Statisticians observe that there is need to have reliable and accurate information, as these are key factors to planning and development, which they say can only be achieved by embracing latest information technologies.
Concept of Internet of Things. The Internet of Things is a scenario where everyday objects are interconnected and eventually embedded in the Internet infrastructure.
If Africa were to capture just a fraction of this additional economic value, this would have significant implications for economic growth and poverty reduction. For example, if Africa captured just about 5% of this $3 trillion in economic value added to the global economy, that would translate into growth rates in excess of 10% per year.
Africa's Agenda 2063 is to eradicate extreme poverty at household level and wants to rely on accurate data to eliminate poverty. Stella Nabakoza, WBS TV, Munyonyo.
In the world of business, the Governor, Bank of Uganda, Professor Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebire, warned government against financial indiscipline and reckless spending. Mutebire said that government should be mindful of Uganda's volatile economy, which he claimed is evidenced by the downward trend in the value of the country's currency against other foreign currencies, mostly the dollar. The remarks of the governor of the central bank came at a time when the country is grappling with a mega-billion scandal in the proposed construction of the standard gauge railway, which he seemed reluctant to support. Uganda's economy is expected to grow at a rate of 6% per annum, following the improvement in growth performance in the financial year 2013-2014 at 4.5% in real terms. Unfortunately, Uganda has very big development projects, including the construction of Karuma Power Station, the oil pipeline, the 2016 general elections, and the standard gauge railway, which continues to evoke mixed feelings from government entities. Secretary to the Treasury Keith Muhakanizi refutes observations of the Central Bank Governor Tumusiime Mutebere, objecting to the printing of more money for the 2016 presidential polls following the 2011 polls, in which the country suffered the worst inflation rates in the region at 36%, which was as a result of printing more money for the 2011 polls. To Muhakanizi, government will not spend outside the approved budget by Parliament.
All of you have been speculating that there is election. That's what you have been writing. Is at this stage utter rubbish that we are going to borrow money. We are giving you this information to understand that we are in charge.
Though this may be the case, Central Bank Governor Emmanuel Tumusiime Mutebere is quick at pointing out weaknesses surrounding the performance of the Ugandan shilling compared to the other regional currencies. He doesn't rule out the volatile economy the country finds itself in.
Core inflation rate has fallen during 2014, but it is forecast to edge to around 5% over the next 12 months. Largely because of exchange rate depreciation, which has occurred in 2014 and early 2015, well, this month.
Mutebere warns government against financial indiscipline, which he thinks is at the center of the financial mess facing the country. As to whether government will heed to his call or not, he remains asking government to trade carefully or risk plunging the country into astronomical debts.
What we are saying is that the standard gauge railway is a priority and should be implemented. We all agree that should be implemented in such a way that it does not cause debt and sustainability.
The fiscal program is consistent with ensuring that public debt remains sustainable and that domestic borrowing will remain within the levels which will not threaten to crowd out private sector borrowing.
Apparently, Uganda's foreign debt stands at $23 billion, which is equivalent to 35 trillion shillings. The domestic debt is at $20 billion, while money in circulation in Uganda is 68 trillion shillings. This as the Ministry of Finance released Uganda's half-year fiscal performance, which shows that tax collection increased in revenue, amounting to 4.56 trillion against a target of 4.54 trillion, thereby exceeding the target by 24.3 billion during this first half of the financial year 2014-2015. Thank you so much for your great company. That marks the end of this Week in Focus. I am Anita Mwangazi. Have a great week ahead.